Hi, it's Ben Waddell. This is Big Ben's Movie Show. This is, if you can't tell by my outfit, it's Star Wars week. It finally happened. It finally came out. We saw Star Wars. With me as my co-host this week is Chris Smith, who was here an awful lot.
Howdy, howdy.
We were supposed to have Mike Gomez, an actual stormtrooper, here in the studio. Didn't happen. Sadly, he was taken by the Empire.
Or he got called into work.
Or he got called into work, and it's still there. That also might have happened. All right, so before we get to talking about the movie and all the good stuff there, let's go ahead and watch the clip, gear you guys up, because it's time for the Force to awaken.
Who are you?
I'm no one.
I was raised to do one thing, but I've got nothing to fight for.
Nothing will stand in our way. I will finish what you started.
There are stories about what happened.
It's true. All of it. The dark side. A Jedi. They're real.
The Force. It's calling to you. Just let it in.
So the Force awoke, and everybody and their dog went to see it. We've both seen it twice. Let's go ahead and get started. Chris, what did you think of The Force Awakens?
I think The Force Awakens is a very fun, somewhat flawed, but incredibly enjoyable movie, which is the first and foremost thing any Star Wars movie, any big event, roller coaster movie needs to do.
I enjoyed all of it. I think it was built for fans. It was built for fans who wanted to see all their old stuff. I've heard a lot of people call it like the greatest hits of episodes 4, 5, and 6.
I would agree with that.
Because there was a little bit of a desert planet thing, like in New Hope. We spent a ton of time Tatooine. There was some snow stuff, like Hoth, huh?
Yeah.
So it's and even the fight scenes in the whole movie, you got to see little bits and pieces to remind you why you love this. And I'll go so as far as to say this, and this is an opinion that I've also been hearing online. I feel like this is the second best Star Wars movie. I'm still going to hold Empire on the pedestal that I have built for Empire, but I will let this be my second favorite.
I would agree with a lot of what you said, but I would have to disagree with that. And I think that this movie was stunted by its need to be a greatest hits. I've said it in my online review, is that J.J. Abrams is a fantastic mimic, but like all mimics, he can only go as far as the people he's mimicking.
Yeah.
He, gave us Tatooine, he gave us Hoth, he gave us Yavin, a version of Yavin. He gave us a version of the end fight in A New Hope. He gave us a version of the bar scene from A New Hope. But he didn't give us anything new. And say what you want about Lucas. You know, this is a larger Star Wars question, and I'm giving my review for really the Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
Is Lucas always pushed for new stuff. It
True.
was new environments, new character beats, new
character types.
new character types, opening up the world, even to, boring C-SPAN style politics. He was always trying to add more stuff in and
Jar
show
Jar.
and Jar Jar, show the large
made it Jar
scope.
Jar.
Here, it was just, we're only staying within stuff that you've already seen. We're only staying within stuff that you like.
Yeah.
And because of that, there's no memorable, really standout action sequence. There's no real memorable standout planet or environment.
Yeah, I mean, that did feel very, very different. The one planet where everything was just giant canyons and that people would like live in the holes.
In the holes and
on the sides of it.
all
yeah.
of that stuff was great. There were a huge amount of, not so great things about the prequels. And in a weird sense, this has kind of new flaws. It corrected the flaws of the prequels in that it's fun to watch, it's enjoyable, it moves very fast.
But it now has new flaws.
But the new flaws are, it's kind of a little careful, it's kind of a little shy, it's kind of a little polite, and
it's trying to be funny when it doesn't have to be sometimes.
I actually kind of liked that. That was not one of the new flaws that I would attribute to it. I think a lot of the humor came out from an authentic
It did. It felt
place.
very authentic, but I do feel like in a Star Wars movie, I don't know how much comedy I'm looking for.
Right.
I don't know how much comedy I'm needing. This felt like, we were pretty close to like an Iron Man level of quippy yucks that fall in between.
I think for me it wasn't so much the quips as everything, all the humor that I remember from it and that I'm kind of liking about it, all came from what kind of a reasonable character would do in that situation when maybe they're a little bit on their game.
I will say this though, in terms of the yucks, the ones that I liked and the ones that I didn't, the yucks that I didn't like often seem to be centered around John Boyega.
Like what?
Like, are you helping out Chewie back there? Don't hurt Chewie. It's like, hurt him? He almost killed me 6 times.
Well,
Roar! That's okay though. Come on.
Almost
all of his jokes were jokes you would find in a bad sitcom.
That's a callback though to Chewie being, he's big, he's lovable, he's a big carpet, but he's a monster.
He will rip your arms off.
He will rip your arms off if you're not careful.
Which I heard is one of the deleted scenes that we're hoping to get in the DVD.
Oh, really?
Is there is a scene where Chewie rips somebody's arm off.
Oh man, I would.
They wrote it into the comic books recently. There's a droid that falls around Darth Vader, and he rips the arm right off him. He's almost evil C-3PO, and Chewie rips both of his arms off.
All right.
So
okay, I could go with that.
Yeah.
So, did we want to talk about the actual plot of the movie?
Are we going to talk about The Thing?
I think we should wait to talk about The Thing.
Okay, we're going to wait to talk about The Thing. Just so you know, it has been a week. We will be discussing spoilers at some point. Not now, though. We're going to give it a second.
Right.
But sure, let's go ahead and talk about it. So what about the plot did you like?
Well, I liked the stripped-down simplicity of the plot, which is a robot with certain important information gets lost, finds new people, which this might sound familiar to people who watch the original Star
I
Wars.
love New Hope too, but let's talk about this movie.
Right, exactly. And then it's just what happens next.
And then I believe they're out to get rid of the Death Star. Oh, I'm sorry, Star Killer.
That's right.
It's because they're totally different things.
So it's essentially new characters that get brought into the story of the Skywalker family 30 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
And anything beyond that, I don't think is really necessary.
No.
I mean, that's pretty much what it is. A new
But the
character
fact that there
named-
basically there was a new R2-D2 called BB-8,
Right.
and he had important information stored within that he could only give out to his master.
Right.
And then we end up getting chased around, and the droid ends up in somebody else's hands, who then has to get him back to the Resistance and Princess Leia, which ends up being a thing
That's
again.
right.
They keep trying to get the droid back. And at the end, we find out that the Empire has a secret weapon, and it's a giant space station, and it's a gun, and it can kill an entire system this time.
That's
instead of
right.
Just a planet.
Several planets at
Several
once.
planets, like 5 planets, done.
Right.
And they do show, to be fair, even though they're like, because you can see the directors and people are like, we can't just have it be another Death Star. So they actually have a scene where they're planning the raid, and they show, here's the Death Star, just to and here is Starkiller, and it's like
That's right.
20 times the size.
Right.
Just to almost like verify, like, see, it's important.
It's different.
We're not just copying.
It's
It
this
matters.
much more dangerous.
It's much more dangerous. Yeah.
I would say that that's kind of one of the drawbacks of this, is that after a while, it's kind of like we've seen these beats. And,
A little bit.
And I remember back when Return of the Jedi came out, people were complaining, oh, it's another Death Star and it's another thing. And I would kind of give Lucas and Lawrence Kasdan, who co-wrote Return of the Jedi and also co-wrote The Force Awakens, I'd give him, some room for what they did with the Return of the Jedi, because it was another Death Star, but it was a fundamentally different movie with fundamentally different character beats.
Yeah.
So here, it's just, do we need another planet-sized gun? I was
Apparently we
hoping.
do.
I was hoping that they were going to kind of break some new ground, do some new stuff.
You have to think that for the Empire, there's like an R&D room where they're like, it's like, all right, guys, they blew up the second Death Star. Now what are we going to do? And there's a guy in the back, and he's like, hey, Craig,
why don't we just get a
this
planet?
idea. Just playing devil's advocate here. Bigger Death Star? Just throwing it out, seeing what happens. Let's just see what sticks.
Let's find a planet
Like,
and
there's
start.
no bad ideas, Kevin. Somebody write that down.
That's
Bigger
right.
Death Star.
Start digging now, and in 30
they
years,
just
we'll
keep-
have our super weapon done.
Although somebody also brought up the point that it used to be that there was a fleet. There was a fleet of Star Destroyers and all these different ships. This time there was one. There was one big Star Destroyer.
That we saw.
Maybe there's more somewhere else.
Right.
But for the most part, it seemed like, but it was a bigger Star Destroyer. It
Maybe.
seemed like a bigger one. So maybe.
Could have been.
So then somebody pointed out that like maybe they had a bunch of Death Stars they were working on. They were like, just smush them all together, make one big one. And instead of
Maybe.
having all these different Star Destroyers, let's just smush them together and make one big one. So
Right.
so that really what you're looking at is like a concentrated form of the Empire.
Maybe.
Maybe.
See. That was one of the things that I think was I'm not going to say a drawback, because the thing that I like about the Star Wars movies, at least the original 3, is they throw you in the middle and you're kind of catching up, and you're kind of learning things by context, and you're learning, how things work by just watching what people do and kind of suppositioning. Here, it just seemed, I guess a little too careful. The things that I liked the most about it were, and this is for you people in the control room, the new characters, John Boyega, Daisy Ridley, and Oscar Isaacson, and then Adam Driver as
Adam Driver,
Kylo
so good.
Ren, who I really liked a lot, and in a weird way, he's almost kind of like a mirror image of Luke, where he's on the dark side, but he's struggling with going to the light side, and I guess maybe this might be the time that we should start talking about spoilers.
So we're about to talk about the big spoiler thing. I'm going to give you a 5-second countdown, and then we're going to just ruin the movie for you. Okay?
It's coming.
All right, so here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Han Solo dies, and Kylo Ren kills him. Now we can go ahead and talk about it.
That's right.
The Band-Aid's been ripped off.
That's the thing I liked about, I've been hearing a lot of kind of carping about how Kylo Ren isn't a Darth Vader, and as though it's this.
But he's a Vader in training. He's on his way to
Exactly.
being a Vader.
I don't think it's an accident that he's not a Vader. He's actually trying to model himself after Vader. He's afraid. One of the things that happened is, as the story goes on, Daisy Ridley's character, it becomes apparent that she's some sort of Jedi in training or Jedi in waiting.
She's strong with the Force.
Right, and she can actually see into his mind and realize that he wants to be Darth Vader.
Okay, so that was a different thing. So that was another thing that came up in this one that I hadn't seen before. A new Force power, it seemed, to be able to read people's minds.
I think that
Not
that's
something
been
that I hadn't seen Vader do it. Remember, when Vader wants information, he pulls giant sphere droid in here with needles coming out of
Right.
it. And that's how he gets Leia to talk about stuff, and she doesn't talk.
Could be,
So
yeah.
I don't know why he didn't just do this thing, and then she
I don't
twitches
know.
in her chair for 10 minutes.
Maybe that's another thing that we're going to see, or
No,
I don't know.
maybe it was some like in the books they do have specific Jedi powers where certain like in the books Han and Leia have 3 kids and one of them is very good at communicating with animals and it's one that you it didn't show up in any of the other ones but yeah, the idea that you would have like a specific Jedi power tailored to you because you were a special
that
Jedi.
could be something. I thought it was. I was interested to watch his struggle, because at a certain
Yes.
point, one of the other things that was apparent in the previews actually is he is the grandson of Darth Vader.
Yes.
And somehow he had got a hold of Darth Vader's helmet at least. And he's actually talking to the helmet at a certain point in a very Hamlet-style way.
Yes.
Worried that he's not bad enough, that he's not mean
Yes.
enough, that he's not dark enough, and hoping that he can do it. And at the moment that he kills Han Solo, you can see this kind of struggle within him.
Yeah.
And-
well, he's asking Han for help.
Right.
Not help to come back to the good, but help to cement himself
Right.
as bad, and that's why he ends up killing him. Is I don't want to run over there and kill you. If you could come to me,
Right.
and stand here
you
so
can
that I can
see-
just push the button and kill you.
You can see that he's, even on the bridge where he kills Han Solo, he's still struggling within himself,
Yes.
and it's almost like he kind of holds his breath, presses a button, and forces himself to go beyond the point of
Yeah.
no return, which I think is going to kind of come back to haunt him.
Especially
later.
as Han dies, he doesn't look angrily at his son. He caresses his
Right.
face lovingly, like in a loving, like, I still love you. I don't. And,
Right.
and something like that. Like, killing your dad should mess you up to begin with. But
Right.
killing your dad and him loving you
And
still.
then realizing-
as he falls to his death as you kill
Yeah.
him, that's going to mess you up.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. I wouldn't be
So-
surprised if that thing of his hand caressing his face comes up later.
There's just enough new interesting things, new character beats to not make this movie a kind of failure, or
Yeah.
to bring it something beyond the greatest hits of the
Yeah.
original trilogy. So I think there is still a lot of hope and a lot of potential for these movies.
Almost a new hope, you might say. What's
You
going
might
on?
say it. I'll let you say it.
Okay, so one of the things that I'm hoping for in the next movie, just because they've set up a bunch of stuff,
Newly hoping.
I'm newly hoping for in the next movie
Now we're both going to do it.
that the Empire will strike back about. No, I am hoping that we get to see Leia have a lightsaber fight with Kylo Ren.
I'm hoping that there is some confrontation between Leia and Kylo that I think would be really interesting.
Yeah.
It's one thing to kind of kill your dad and try to be a hard ass, and he's kind of
Well,
not
remember,
been there
his
for you.
dad is just a guy.
Right.
He's just a guy. Leia is conceivably just as strong in the Force as Luke.
Right.
And at some point in the 30 or 40 years since it's happened,
Yeah.
she should have been trained at least somewhat.
It's exactly. It's one thing to kill your father. It's another thing to look your mother in the eye and own up to killing your father.
And then try to kill her too.
Exactly, which I
would
think
be-
could be really interesting. And I think there's a lot of interesting potential of, could he be brought back to the light? And if
Yeah.
he is, how's he going to live with himself? Because he did take this step that you cannot
I mean, here's
take
the thing
back.
I really don't want to see. I don't want to see him in episode 9 or whatever, holding Snoke above his head going, no, and throwing him down to the pit just to save Rey. That's what I
Well-
don't want to see.
For
Yeah.
30 years,
He didn't say no.
he didn't say
he didn't
no.
say no. And then
He
we
just threw
fixed
him.
it. We fixed it, and he says no now. Yeah. All right. But no, I thought this was great. I think it leads you in a great point going forward to see what's next. Because I think in the next one we're going to see, this one ends with Rey standing on Jedi Island or whatever, giving Luke his old lightsaber that he lost at the end of Empire. And then we're assuming now starting training to be this new wave of Jedis. And I'm hoping that during that training we can see flashbacks to Luke training Kylo Ren.
Right.
That's the thing that I'm really hoping for. And because that's another big part of this, is that there's a dream sequence where we see Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren, who have only a brief mention in this,
Right.
standing around all the dead bodies.
what looks to be
dead bodies of possibly other Padawans that Luke was training.
Right.
And then going after her. And it's, I mean, when I walked out, the gentleman that I saw the movie with, a friend of mine named Evan, thought that it was clear and obvious that Rey was the daughter of Luke. I think it's definitely on the table.
I think it's on the table, but I don't. I think it feels like hopefully a kind of a false, a mislead, because I
Hopefully.
think that would be.
Because I mean, the other options, she's gonna be family of somebody.
Right. If you watch this movie, it would be very strange for her to have her backstory only to find out that Luke Skywalker is her father, because, man, what an awful father he would be if that's the case.
You thought this, to me, I think he's just giving his daughter the childhood that he had. Like, I had such a good time growing up
he
on a
did
desert
not.
planet
That's
in the middle
the thing.
of nowhere.
No, he had
I'd
an
go out
awful
with my
time.
friends and get power converters.
No.
It was the best time.
No.
We'd farm for moisture. It was great. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send you to a different desert planet where I don't have any uncles. There is no blue milk, but you get to hang out and grow up on a desert planet.
Exactly. You can hang out alone
Yeah.
for 15 years. So there's that.
Yeah.
No.
And at
I
the end
don't
of
see
it, you'll have force abilities that you didn't even know about, and you'll just show up and know how to do stuff.
Right.
So
we'll see.
a couple of the other things that I loved about this movie had a ton of little tongue-in-cheek references to stuff that I loved, especially when they get on the Millennium Falcon for the first time. And there's a scene, and they're like, "Get that thing working back there," and they cut back, and John Boyega picks up a small sphere.
All right,
and I'm
that's
like,
right.
it's the sphere. It's the little lightsaber training thing. And then he just throws it away quickly. And then the other one that I just totally geeked out on was the chess.
Oh, right.
He turns on the chess board that Chewie and C-3PO were playing in New Hope, and they just let it roll for a second, and they just all look at it kind of like, whatever that is.
Well, you know what?
Turn it off.
It's funny. I noticed the second time I watched it, as soon as he turns on the chessboard, Chewie kind of gets up like, "Hey, are we going to play?
Oh, are we playing?"
Hey,
almost like a dog when you announce walk. And he goes, "We're going for a walk?
Hey, all
we're going for a
right.
walk?"
Hey, no, we're not.
Chewie sees the chess set turn on. "Oh, we playing chess? We playing chess?"
No.
And it's like, no, Chewie, we're not.
This movie was at its best when it was paying attention to the new characters, when it was giving them things to do, giving them struggles to go through. You know, Finn...
While still letting the other ones be involved.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, Finn, who is the stormtrooper character that decides he doesn't want to be a murderous fascist
Which is nice.
stormtrooper.
How warm is it in those helmets, by the way? Because he doesn't sweat through the whole movie until he takes that helmet off.
That's right.
And
It
he
must
is
be awful.
dripping.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, he's a fun character, and you know, there's been some pushback. Is he's kind of the coward? Is like he wants to do the right thing. He wants to do, but and you know,
And at the same
when
time,
push
he's
comes
not,
to shove,
so
he's
To me, he felt like the Luke character, the naive optimist, you know, rushing into danger. Even though he did say he wanted to run away at one point,
Right.
He's also the guy that up until now has been like, "What's going on? Let's go!" And
Yeah.
he'll just run. Like when Rey's getting hurt by the guys in the market,
Right.
He gets right up and rushes over there, even though he's dying of thirst,
Right.
and drinking out of the dog's
That's
bowl.
true. That's
he
true.
rushed over there to help her. So yeah, he had a bunch of lines that were, "Droid, please." Is one of
I
the
don't
ones-
remember him
You don't
saying
remember him
that.
saying that?
No.
Oh.
No.
She's down in the thing. She's down in the Millennium Falcon. She's working on the gas. And
Oh.
he's telling him, he goes, "Okay, I'm not part of the resistance." And BB-8's like, "Beep, boop, 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 boop," and gets all mad. And he goes, "Droid, please."
No, I
You
I
don't
took
remember
it,
Droid, please?
I remember him saying that, but I remember like, "Please, Droid, please."
No.
No.
He says it, "Droid, please."
Maybe. Maybe.
No, it was,
Finn is fun.
Finn is fun. "You are one hell of a pilot." God, that was a bad line. But overall adds fun and youth to the movie in ways that it does need. So
Yeah.
I liked it. Meanwhile, his chemistry with the other character, with Rey and with Oscar Isaacs, is wonderful.
Right.
I could have done with more Oscar Isaacs. I thought Poe
Definitely.
Dameron, great character. Want to see more of that. All right, first one on Suck Not Suck. Here we go. So, this is great. This is a great little shot. Let's go ahead and make this full screen. So this came from the people who made Jurassic Park. They congratulated Star Wars on winning the new box office record. And they did that by putting out this graphic of the T-Rex.
Right.
Putting a medal on BB-8. Star Wars has now shattered all the box office records for the weekend, for the world.
It does not suck. And in fact, I love this because this actually goes back as old as the original trilogy. When Titanic took the top spot, Lucas made a similar poster of the
Okay.
Titanic going down with all the Star Wars characters saying, "Congratulations, James Cameron, on having the biggest movie of all time."
Nice. Okay.
And when, I think there was another one when E.T. came out, Lucas gave something for E.T. because for a while E.T. was the biggest movie of all time.
Yeah.
So
Well, and then when Avengers had their big weekend, I think somebody
Right,
did a thing
yeah,
for them.
I did. So
Like
no,
Spider-Man
yeah,
or somebody.
definitely
But
does
yeah,
not
that's
suck.
great. So no, I think it's a great thing too that it won all the awards. That's awesome. Next one, Daisy Ridley, Rey in the movie, says the script for Episode 8 is great. Do you believe her? Does her opinion suck or not suck?
Her opinion does
I have
not
to force
suck,
us into
but that's the thing is, I love actors, but you can't listen to a word they say.
No.
You cannot.
Because they're selling you something.
They're selling you the movie. It might be great. I tend to believe, given the strengths of this movie and the care that Disney, which now owns Lucasfilm, does take with its intellectual property in making enjoyable, fun movies, or at least attempting to.
Yeah.
And given the fact that this is under the direction of Kathleen Kennedy, who is the head of Lucasfilm and one of the greatest genre producers of all time, I have a good feeling that they're not going to be dropping the ball.
I agree.
With episode 8.
I agree. Next up, The Simpsons actually predicted this weekend, both movies, well, two of the big movies that came out this weekend. Simpsons predicted it back in 2009. Do we have a shot of that? Basically, they predicted that there would be a new Star Wars movie, and they predicted that there would be a new Alvin and the Chipmunks movie. But they predicted it would be number 3, when it's actually number 4.
Oh, well, no.
So, so back even 6 years ago, they predicted that those two movies were going to come out the same weekend, and they did.
Wow.
Is that, does The Simpsons suck or not suck for having done that?
It does not suck for that.
There you go.
I will say that.
Next one, Star Wars was the #1 movie everywhere in the world except for South Korea and Vietnam. Do South Korea and Vietnam suck?
Yes, they do. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my friends.
We might be causing an international incident here, but yeah.
Asian continent. But what movie was #1?
The homegrown movies. There was in both cultures. There was a movie that was shot locally, and that was #1.
All right. Well, that makes sense. Come on. So for Vietnam, it sucks. For South Korea, it does not suck.
Okay.
I'm going to split it like that.
All right. Last one here. A guy in Texas has seen Force Awakens 9 times already.
Okay.
The reason he saw it is that he was part of a marathon where you had to sit through all the original 6 movies and the Christmas special. This was at the Alamo Drafthouse in Texas.
I've been there. It is a fantastic theater.
Yeah, so it was all done up for Star Wars. I don't know if you saw the pictures.
I did.
Yeah, they'd done it all up for that. So then after he'd seen all the prequels and the holiday special, which I don't know if you've seen, but it's terrible.
I was there at the.
You were there when it actually aired?
I watched the original airing.
Itchy and Chewy and all them.
It's the only time I've seen it.
And B. Arthur? Yeah.
It's the only time I'm going to see it.
And then after that, there was a marathon of just Force Awakens over and over again until people left. And the winner of this kind of marathon won 7 years of free movie tickets. This guy won. He's seen it 9 times.
That's all it took?
Yeah. Well, plus the other 6 movies. And they can't leave. They can't leave for food, bathrooms, water, anything.
Wait, like they couldn't leave for a bathroom break?
Yes, this is part of it. So he was in there for more than 24 hours. So
he'd have to be in there for at least 18 just to watch it 9 times. So that's like a day and a half.
He was in there a while.
Actually, no. Let's think this through. See,
does he suck or not?
No, he doesn't. He does not suck.
Okay.
Because he could have gotten a big drink before he went in.
I'm sure he did.
And then
peed in the cup.
Utilized the cup.
Yep.
To win the contest.
Yeah. No,
Let's just say that.
I'm mad props to that guy. Obviously, he doesn't have a wife
suck.
or a kid or anything, but good for you. Good for you for winning that. Yeah.
Right.
So, all right. So that is this week's show. Thanks so much for watching. If you have a question, if you have a comment, or you want to be a co-host on the show, give us an email.
It's not that hard.
It's not that hard. Anybody can do it. Anybody.
This is your proof sitting right here. Anyone here can do it.
Email for the show is bigbms@zoho.com. Our Twitter handle is big_BMS. All right, next week, our host will be Chris again. And we'll be talking about Concussion, the new Will Smith movie, Daddy's Home with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. And hopefully, we're not sure about this yet because the calendar keeps changing this, Hateful Eight by Quentin Tarantino.
That's right.
That's the one we're both really, really excited about. The other two are fun, but Hateful Eight, that's the one we're trying to see.
That'd be great.
All right, see you next week. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
Nice. I said it first.
Who's directing? Is Del directing or Juan? Nice. I did it last week, if that makes you feel worse.
Wait, it's not that you're better than Juan. It's that you're scared. skin tone's
You are whiter than one.
It's not that you're better than one. It's that you're better than one.
God said you're better because of the way you look. Here, read this Donald Trump book. It looks fun.
He read this book like Glenn Beck.